Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to yet again another fantastic indie creator interview. It is your Caped Crusader, Cody, and we are keeping it geekly with our brand new friend, Brendan Albetski. We're here to break down his latest indie comic, Maru, Kiru, Destroy the World. I almost had it, and I stumbled.
He said destroy the world, too, which is also...
I know! Destroy the moon! I was so focused on that first half, we dropped it in the last half. Cotton, that strategy did not pay off. Look at that cover, though. It is so gorgeous.
Right? Maru Kiru, Destroy the Moon is the name of the comic, which is now in print. We officially released yesterday.
Give us the wraparound, though. That wraps around, doesn't it?
Yeah, sure, it does. Yeah, I've actually got, so I have this everywhere.
Wow, that's gorgeous.
I actually have it in a frame on my desk. It was my desktop wallpaper for a while. We're real proud of that one.
So is this your first break into indie comics?
Yeah, technically, I guess this is probably the farthest I've ever gotten with a project. I've been making comics for like 10 years now, but this is the first one that anybody's given a crap about.
Well, let's time travel a little bit. 10 years ago, what was the first comic you really started creating?
Yeah, so I started doing comics for my college newspaper. I went to UConn. And the Daily Campus had a full comic section that nobody wanted to run. And so in my, I think it was my junior year, I was like, we used to look at the comics in the paper, and there's some there that are still being made today. Phil is the name of a comic that was in that paper that is still being made now by people that I know now as a result of having been involved with this. And it's just absolutely hilarious, and nobody knows about it. But have your Phil, check it out. It's hilarious. But I looked at that comics page and I'm like, I can do better than that. And I had never drawn anything and I'd never written anything. I was kind of into comics. I'm like, I can do that. So I applied for the job of being the editor of the page, and I was the only one that applied. And so I got the job.
That is so
and
cool.
We got paid $5 a strip. So I had a strip that a friend of mine drew and I wrote, and then I had another one where I was like, well, I'm the editor. I can put whatever I want on this page. I'm going to draw one. And I had never really done art before. My mom will tell you, he's been drawing since he was 6 years old. And it's like, no, that's not true. But I was 21, and I was like, this art shit's going to be easy. I can do this. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't. I was very bad. But I put it in the paper anyways. And so we did that for 2 years, and then I graduated. And I was very attached to all of the people that I worked with there. And I was like, we need to keep this going. We need to start a comics collective online. And we're all going to keep our comics going. And we're going to do this for years. And we're going to be really rich. And that didn't work out at all.
It sounded good though, right?
Yeah, no, it was a cool idea, right? But it was around that time that I wanted to do a real ongoing series of a graphic novel that would eventually be published in a graphic novel. And I wrote this really high concept thing, this really big sci-fi thing. And I had a friend who is still friends with me because this could have been a friendship ender, honestly. And he's like, you're going to draw this for me. And I had no idea what really went into drawing comics at that time. And I was a very demanding and bad writing partner. And eventually they were just like, I can't do this with you. And it's like, fine, I'll do it myself. How hard could it be? Really hard. And, 10 years later, here we are. And I've tried a couple of comics here and there. Maru Kiru is the first one that I have really tried to put bones behind. And really get my stuff together and do it. And at the beginning of COVID, I was doing a lot more illustration because we were stuck at home. Mm-hmm. And a friend of mine, Scott Matrinsky, who has done a lot of really cool curated trading card collections and stuff of that nature, and he's also a really great painter. He was putting together a remote art show called Ice Cream Social, and it was all pieces that were about ice cream. And one of the questions he said is what's your next creative project? And I just elevator pitched this thing, and we're I've got this comic about barbarians that want to blow up the moon. And he's like, that sounds awesome. I'm like, it does? That sounds like something you would read? Cool, I'm going to do that then. And that was really what kicked me off. I had been working on some character concepts for Maru in 2019, and she looked way different. If you actually look in the book, we have a lot of concept art in the back where you can see the early concepts, and she looks way different. It wouldn't have been the same. So I'm glad that stuff matured from there. And one of the things that kind of inspired the character design was, again, it was COVID, and my wife hadn't had a haircut for I don't know, 2 years at some point.
I love
her hair
it.
was just ridiculously long, and I'm like, what if my character had just like preposterously long hair? And so that kind of became the signature look, and that was really cool. But
it's really a striking silhouette too. There was one part in particular where it was all blacked out, and you just seen the hair. It was just like a colored poof of hair, and I was like, dude, I love it so much. I love it so much.
And it just became like, that was the thing. Like, again, when you talk about the silhouettes, and like your character needs to have like a really strong silhouette, and that was something that was just like, yeah, you can do so much with this. And I like drawing stuff like blowing in the wind. She had a cape originally, and I'm like, this looks dumb. I don't like this. And so I kind of went back to the drawing board a couple of times. But like late 2020 is when the comic like really started, and I started putting up stuff and trying to sell PDFs like through my website and stuff. And being on Global Comics in this past couple of months has honestly been such a huge step up in like awareness. And it just happened to coincide with like the hard copy coming out from my publisher. And it's really been kind of the perfect storm of getting people to like actually look at this and care about it. And it's really cool. I get fan art for it now. And I tend to ask for it. I go out there and be like, does anybody want to draw fan art? And people actually, I think I've done that before for other stuff and gotten zero response. And the fact that I've actually gotten some people to be like, yeah, here you go. It's like just so cool. It's amazing. I love every single piece of art anybody does on this. And just the best people in the world, the best fans. The fact that I even have fans at all is just something that's still baffling to me. But this is cool.
Yeah, this book is remarkable. Maru, Kiru, Destroy the Moon. Like, I love everything about her. I don't know if you've ever played Heavenly Sword, but like the main protagonist of that is a female. She's a badass, and like I just felt that energy throughout this entire. When she's like, big hammer, I'm like, dude, fuck yes. Like, oh, dude, she's just totally like brutal, savage. What was some of your inspiration, creating this character? I just love how like brute she is.
Yeah, I mean, I've read the entire Conan the Barbarian stories, and those are really great pulp stories that have not aged super well in a lot of ways. And a lot of the classic Conan comics and stuff, and Conan is just a huge inspiration for kind of all of this, which is like you can't avoid that in the genre. But Conan is also like super duper macho man, and almost to an embarrassing extent. And so I was like, I want to make. Yeah, like Xena and stuff was kind of formative growing up. I was in the 90s, and that stuff was all over the place, and she was really cool. And then honestly, Samus from Metroid is kind of another big inspiration. I don't know if you know this, but that's kind of the reason I have a following online at all, is because I did a bunch of Metroid fan art.
Really?
And yeah, so
that's awesome.
That's kind of like my viral tweets are all Metroid related.
So how'd you feel about Metroid Dread?
Oh, I love it. It's great.
Yeah?
Fantastic. Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
It was like game of the year. And it was a pain in the ass to finish that game, especially when you're trying to like make a comic at the same time. And it's like, it's really, really hard. But if you just, stick to it and try it over and over and over again, you'll finish it. I'm like, I don't have time to do that though. But I did finish the game. It did take a long time. I did not 100% it. I was going to 100% it, but some of those Shine Spark puzzles just like. So
what did you do? Knock out a couple pages and reward yourself with a little bit of gameage?
I guess something to that effect. I don't know. I saw a tweet about this yesterday where somebody was talking about like, how do you reward yourself for working on?
I think we've seen the same tweet. Yeah.
And I'm like, brother, the comic is the reward.
Yeah. like if you only knew I was up till 5 a.m.
Yeah. I definitely used to do pre working at home. I was absolutely 5 a.m. club, working on this stuff. And I'm glad that I don't do that anymore, because I'm too old for that shit now.
Yeah.
But absolutely, there was like, and it's really, I hate being like, it's a calling. But like, I am super passionate about it, and that's what I do with my free time. And I forget sometimes that like, it's a lot of hard work, but like, I will throw up a series or a movie or whatever. Right now, I'm watching a regular show for like the first time all the way through, and that's
my mom.
Yeah. I was explaining that to somebody the other day, and they're like, that sounds obnoxious. I'm like, it is, but
you
they
just
do
have
it
to.
so often, and it's like it circles back around to being funny again.
Dude, I love the part where his brother gets out there. He's like, "Little bro, someone talking about mom."
Yeah. I think one of my favorite episodes is the one where Mordecai and Rigby are stuck with Muscle Man all day, and they're just baffled to find out that like everybody thinks he's cool, like all of his friends think he's awesome.
Is that the one where they tried to explain him how he's doing the joke wrong?
Yes, yeah, that's the one. Where,
Dude. Oh God, man! Regular show that it's so good. I love that era of cartoon was just.
Yeah, great stuff. Yeah, I love Adventure Time, which is like I feel like kind of a parallel. I feel like they were on at the same time. But yeah, so like I'll have something on and I just work on comics, and like I'll take breaks if I get to a point where I'm not enjoying working on the comic anymore, I just stop and I go do something else because I always end up coming back. That's something that's been really special about working on Maru Kiru is like this is the comic that I have always come back to. And I'll work on other stuff. I've done some commission stuff, some work for hire stuff where like it is more of a job. And that's like, take breaks, reward yourself, blah, 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 whatever, get through it. But as far as like creator-owned projects that I'm personally starting and personally doing, I've done a couple others. And I have burned out on them. I haven't wanted to come back to them. But this one, it's like, if I feel like I'm not having fun with it anymore, I just take a break, I go do something else. And I always end up wanting to come back, which has been a huge deal for me as a creator. So
I really can feel that too. When I was reading this, I had fun reading it the whole entire time. I read this. I read, I think, 5 chapters before we dropped in. It's 100+ pages altogether, right?
So in the print version, which I'll hold up for the camera again, it's 115 pages, but I believe only 71 of that is actual comic.
Okay.
And then we've got a ton of extras in there. There's a pinup gallery, and there's a lot of concept work, a lot of stuff that I wrote about making the comic. And there's actually 8 pages of unfinished original comic, which is kind of like a funny story about this, kind of in direct relation to what I just said about, getting burned out on something and going away from it. I tried to start this comic 3 times before I actually made it. And so there was a first attempt where I was like way too micro-focused on like the sequence of events and like things that happened, and it was like boring and it just wasn't very good, and that stuff's not in here, and I just gave up on it. I'm like, screw this isn't working out, I'll just keep drawing concept art and that'll be fine. And then I tried it again and I did 8 pages, and I was actually to the point where I was going to start lettering, and I looked at it and I'm just like, you know what, something's wrong here, I don't like it, and I tossed it away again. And then when I started the third time is the time that stuck, and that we ended up with. And the credo for making that was just the good parts. It's like I work full time. All my favorite artists have day jobs. That's not uncommon. I work 40 hours a week, sometimes more, and I don't have the time always to just sit down and go through the minutia. So I'm like, well, how do I make a comic and juggle this at the same time while I'm, doing chores and all this crap? And it's like, I'm just going to draw the parts that are exciting to me. I'm just going to draw the stuff that I want to draw. And I'm going to make it like, this is the thing to look forward to at the end of the day. This is not more work to do. This is your reward for having gotten through everything.
I like that mentality, that you're almost like tricking yourself,
Yeah. And I try to think about it. I like to say that I want to be the David Lynch of comics, where it's like emotion trumps reason, and you just put the stuff in there that speaks to you like on an emotional level. And if it doesn't always make total narrative sense, then I don't know, too bad. Deal with it. It's awesome.
I love how crazy the story is too. It's so. It's balls to the wall. It feels like, like, and she literally goes to destroy the moon. Like it's like I don't know how better to explain it. It's such a crazy concept, but when you read it, you're like, holy shit, this is good. This makes sense. Like, man, are we gonna see more? Are we gonna see her possibly destroy the world? Like I was saying earlier, you're like,
maybe. I guess I kind of know. I'm not going to pull a Tim Buckley, I know who lives and who dies kind of thing. But, I have a general framework of, I came up in like early 2000s webcomics. So I'm like, That's I think about that crap all the time. But I have an idea of how the story's going to end, but getting there is like, I know that maybe the major beats, but it's like, I don't know. We're going to see how long it takes to get there. And we're going to see what kind of catches my interest along the way and what we dive into further. Chapter 6 starts with a big flashback, which is not something I was planning when I'm like, I kind of want to do this. So, there's a cliffhanger at the end of chapter 5, and then, I'm sorry, chapter 6 does not follow up on that cliffhanger. So we'll get there. We will get there. But
I think kind of keeping it loose like that, like instead of having like a very strict regiment that you follow, like keeping it kind of loose helps the creative juice flow a little bit better, right?
Absolutely.
Like you're able just to run with any idea you have. Real quick, we have Baron Von DC over on YouTube. This isn't simple flattery. Maru, Kiru, Destroy the Moon is honestly my favorite comic on Global Comics. I loved it. When I was reading this, I couldn't stop. I had to look at the time. I'm like, shit, it's 10:55. Like, I got to stop this right now. I'm like, right here. Like,
that's awesome. Thank you so much. And I know who that is. And he makes a great comic called Once Upon a Time in Xanatopia.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Which
DC
is one of my favorite comics on Global Comics. So
DC was one of my first interviews way back in the day. So, I've loved seeing, I've had a chance to read issue 2 and issue 3. Or seen some images of issue 3.
I've read issue 4. I did a variant comic cover.
I think I've seen
4,
that cover.
So I've read the future. Yeah.
Okay. So all right. DC, you better. Are you holding out on me, DC?
He is. He absolutely is.
So you've been working on You've been working in comics for 10 years. How long would you say you've been working on this comic in particular for?
I would say that since 2019.
2019.
That's like the earliest concept drawings, and I started with the idea for it and kind of the idea for the character on a vacation to Seattle, where I was walking through, like, I don't know, I think we were hiking Mount Rainier, and it was really foggy, and there might have been some, kind of in one of those very cool rainforest type things they have in Seattle, and I was thinking about that as an atmosphere, and obviously none of that made it into the book, but it is just as a starting point. I was thinking about this concept of a character who was just called like the Black Knight, and she was a veteran of some like feudal war, and her reward for loyal service was that she was going to be given this fiefdom, and so it ended up that her lands were like a single watchtower and a bridge over like a dilapidated bridge over a river, and the comic started with the bridge getting blown up, and she was going to go try to find who did it and get revenge on them, and it was a very small scale sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And I quickly abandoned it because it stopped being interesting to me. and that's like one of my things whenever I try not to give advice if I don't know, like if I haven't experienced something personally, because I really feel like you've got a lot of indie comics people out there who are like, oh, I'll give you advice, and it's like, yeah, but you're no more successful than anybody else in the space. And like we're not Gandalf, nobody's making a living off this stuff. And we shouldn't try to tell people how to live or how to do whatever. But like, that's like the one thing that I will tell people is like, if your comic is not interesting to you, it will not be interesting to anybody else. You have to be your own biggest fan. Because there's no way you're going to be able to grab anybody else's interest unless you think you've created the greatest thing in the world.
100%.
So that was, and that's kind of what led to this Just the Good Part stuff. But that was kind of the nugget of that character, of being somebody who is just really tenacious and holds a grudge, and just is going to stop at nothing to get hers back on whoever has done her wrong. So that's where that kind of started, and then it matured from there. But early designs for the characters, she dress all in black, and she had like this big black cape, which the cape went away, obviously. But the idea of having just like, the big sword or whatever weapon and, just smashing the crap out of people, that's kind of been the idea from the get-go.
something with dudes and big swords and smashing things. You and DC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a powerful trope. I highly recommend it to anybody out there interested in making your own comic. It'll get you going.
So, I'm interested. You said you had almost a falling out with a friend over like art differences, and then you decided to take the pen up, and you realized that was a long road for you. What has that creative journey been like for you, you know, leading up to this point? Because the art, I love your art style. I love the art in this book. I think the art is just phenomenal.
It's you know, it's been hit or miss. I haven't like had the benefit of really like, you know, doing art school or anything like that. And people I know who have gone to art school have told me that it's not really worth your time sometimes. I can't really speak to it because I haven't done that. But you know, maybe I could have taken some shortcuts if I had some tutelage of some kind. I have done it pretty much all myself, which is why it's taken 10 years. You know, when I was in college and when I was in high school, my thing was like, I'm going to be a novelist, and I'm going to be the next great American writer, and I'm going to do all this crap. And
have a monocle and everything.
Yeah. And you know, as it turns out, I don't really enjoy writing all that much. It took me like learning how to do art and stuff that I realized that you know, art's what I really want to do. And that's part of the reason I wanted to get into comics. It was like, oh, I love comics, I love the visual aspect of it, but I'm not an artist. I can't do it. So I'll just be a writer. And I'll write, and other people will do my art. And it turns out I'm not a very good writer. And I think that is something that happens a lot with people in the space sometimes. Is I get pitches from writers. They're just like, hey, let's collaborate, and here's a sentence that's essentially just an elevator pitch. I'm like, do you want to make that? And I'm like, no, not really. If you come to me with a script and you want to pay my page rate, I'll do pretty much whatever you want. But if you're asking me to do all the work, not interested. And that's kind of what I was asking people to do back then. Is like coming to them and be like, here's the idea, and here's my script full of pithy dialogue and no blocking instructions. And you just go hog, man. You just do it, and just do it. Make it into a thing. Just do it. Just do it.
Just do it, you baby.
Why have you not done it? Why are you not done with this yet? Why are we not famous yet? This is all new. And, you know, and that's nobody wants to work with that guy, is what I discovered. So yeah, and my attitude at the time was not great. And I really did have that kind of spiteful, like, well, if you're not going to do it, then I'll just do it myself, and I'll show you. And you know, it's like hitting a brick wall right away. It's like, turns out I suck. Oh no.
But you know, that mentality is what led you here, right? Like, it's kind of what created this podcast too. I had a co-host, and we had a falling out. And it was one of those things where he took the rights to everything. We had it was originally called Talk Geekly. And it was, you know, we had a nice thing. And then I remember he had a catchphrase at the end of every podcast. You know, we would end it. I would be like, hey, follow us on social medias. I'd like finish us off, and he'd be like, keep it geekly, guys. And I'm like, you know, I got a awesome idea for a new podcast. I'm gonna do it by myself. I'm gonna do everything I wanted to do by myself. I hit a lot of brick walls too, but we're here today, baby.
Yeah, it's very rewarding to do something by yourself. And I guess maybe I'm not the greatest team player in the world. I have worked with some writers in kind of like my new world of being a very zen personality and like taking it with the flow and just like enjoying making comics. And I have had the pleasure of working with some really talented writers and some really skilled writers and doing some stuff. So I don't know if you know Hank Pattison, who I've done some pages of a comic called Techno Crappers with, which we don't really do much anymore because, you know, it wasn't paying the bills, but, you know, that was still fun. We got to draw some robots.
That's awesome.
I've done a little bit of work with Frankie White, which has been awesome.
I know Frankie.
Yeah. And I'm in their new anthology called The Amber Door, which is coming out, I think, in September. And we've talked a little bit about doing some other stuff together, so that's going to be really cool. I've done stuff with my publisher, Castaigne Publishing. They put a book out called Base Tape Massacre, which is kind of like a light novel with illustrations in it. I did all the illustrations in that, and it's my first like horror outing, which was really cool to do. You can do some more stuff of that nature. So you know, I can work with other people. I can play nice now. I've seen the other side. I've seen the other side. I know how hard it is, and it's been really humbling. But I was showing, I have my, you know, I've had my proof for a while now, and I was showing it off to some people and letting them read it. And showed it to my uncle, and he was asking me, he's like, okay, so, you know, like who wrote this? I'm like, I did. They're like, oh, who drew it? I'm like, it was me. I'm like,
me.
Who did this? Who did that? I'm like, there's only one name on the book. It's all me. And like, I'm crazy proud of that it's just like I did all of it.
How'd you feel about his reaction?
Oh, I like to just like, we were playing poker at the time. It's really funny. And I took all his money shortly after that. So it was like a really great in your face moment.
Like, not only did I write this book, but that money's mine.
It kind of is another thing that I've learned, though. And this is somebody who's in my family and who I talk to all the time and who still like doesn't know what it is that I do or who I do it with, or what it even is. And it's like, I see people all the time and I just want to scream at them that it's like, I feel your pain, but stop talking about this because you're not doing yourself any favors. It's like nobody cares about what I'm doing. I put out art out and nobody responds to it. Nobody's reading my work. Nobody knows who I am or what I do. And it's like, this is indie comics, baby. Nobody knows who anybody is ever. It's like this is we were talking before we went on live. I said I ordered a Maru Kiru shirt that I was going to wear and it didn't come in time, so that's why I'm wearing a Comic Book Getty shirt. But like I've got my branded merch out. I've got my thing in the background. I've got my book that I'm going to keep shoving in your face. And like I'm on socials, like I never shut up. I never stop talking about like who I am and what I'm doing. I think my name is like Brendan Albetski but here we go. I'm gonna mess up the name of my own comic, but by Maru Kiru Destroy the Moon.
That's my fault.
Yeah, no. But I was in the Global Comics Discord where my name is Brendan, parentheses, Maru Kiru Destroy the Moon. And I was meeting people and talking to them, and I'm like, here's my profile, check me out. And they went and they checked it, they're like, oh, you're the guy who makes that Destroy the Moon comic. I'm like, yes, I am.
It's in my name.
It's in my name, it's in my profile picture. And it's like, it's just the nature of like making comics. You make comics and your comic is the most important thing to you in the world. And I understand that because I feel the same way. But like nobody else in the world does. And you can't expect them to. You have to talk about it all the time. There's a reason that Stone Cold Steve Austin came to the ring wearing a shirt that said Austin 316. It's like, you've got to talk about yourself all the time.
We were just talking about Stone Cold Steve Austin the other day. And I was talking about how he used to have long, luscious blonde hair.
Yeah, when he was stunning Steve Austin.
Yeah, dude, it's so wild. I'm starting to get shirts. I have about a week until they come in, but I do have this bad motherfucker right here, a Funko Pop made in my likeness.
Nice.
It doesn't have the eyes though. My logo, when I did creation, I kind of had kept the like a universal like branding kind of similar image. But I've been really focused on trying to get my name out there too, because like, not a lot of people know Keeping It Geekly, and it's a thing where every day I'm trying to tweet as much as I possibly can, and it's like, it's like sometimes I feel dumb, but like I'll even be like, hey, are you guys keeping it geekly today? I'm trying to get it just embedded in people's heads, because like when new books come out, then they're gonna be like, hey, am I keeping it geekly? Like, I don't know, like maybe I should be.
And like for real, I had no idea who you were until I signed up for the interview, and it was a kind of random chance thing, and I'm doing this say yes to life crap where I'm like, because I'm a very, very private person. I don't go to cons. I'm never tabled. I'm very shy. I stay at home, and I have a friend of mine named Zeta Razak, who's at Zeta Razak on Twitter, and we have a pact that we're gonna table together as soon as we both feel comfortable going to a con. And we're supposed to like talk each other up and do this stuff, and like he's wicked skilled. He's an amazing artist. He just put out a comic that he did, his first creator-owned thing called Crime Waves. It's awesome. He did another thing called Violent Comics that's going to be in Gravely Unusual magazine in a couple of months, and that's great. He does Anonymous Cubed. I don't know, that's on Global Comics. I don't know if you've seen that, but that's great. And I tell him all the time, it's like, you got to turn into this. You got to turn into the guy that you hate to see on Twitter, the guy who just never shuts up about what he's doing.
Oh, I hate it.
But it's like and it's like I share your feelings all the time. Everybody has those moments of self-doubt, imposter syndrome, whatever. Don't talk about it. Do talk about it. Talk about it like with your friends, Discord channels, places that are a little more private where the people are and you have like that emotional support structure. But like putting it out on your public feed where you're also trying to market your comics is not a good idea. Yeah. People don't like to see that, and it makes them feel weird. And you don't want them to feel weird. You want them to feel hyped about your book. So like I get it, but and I feel like honestly, if you're on Global Comics, and Global Comics is awesome, They have a great Discord with a great community with a lot of people that are super supportive. And I like go there and tell them about it, because they will 100% support you and like make you feel better about yourself and what you're doing. And it's like, if you're a creator, that's like a real great safe space to just like talk about your frustrations. And like I highly recommend doing something like that as opposed to the, you know, screaming into the void on Twitter. Because it's a hell space, and we got to do the best we can there. But
yeah, people skills are hard. You know, like, I don't know. A lot of people assume that I just started doing this. I've been in content creation for 6-7 years. I did door-to-door sales in retail for 15. You know,
I do not envy you. I do not.
Oh my god, dude! It was one of those things too. Like, I like, you almost have to lie. So I would knock on the door, like knock, like, hey, I'm here scaling the neighborhood. You know, we're talking about ADT homes. You know, no, I'm like, hey, just a few seconds. I'm trying to raise credits for college. That got me in every time. Getting in was like half the battle. You know, it was half the battle. And I think what you're saying has a lot of weight to it. You know, you really have to learn, you know, what you say and the image that you portray, you know, on social media. You know, for a hot second, you know, I kept my brand pretty clean. A lot of people were like, oh, Cody, you don't really strike me as the type of person who would, you know, have, you know, heated thoughts. And it's like, well, you should see my other, you know, Twitter account. Like, damn, dude. Like,
yeah, I definitely get that. And it's so, and you see these guys on YouTube, and some of them are really awesome at, like, they call them bedroom guitarists, and it's like, you just like, I'm a bedroom comic artist. You know, I don't go outside. So someday, you know, one of these days, I really do want to like get out to a con and meet people and like.
I love how I love how like your online personality, you're all like out there, you're shouting your comic to the high heavens, but like your in real life personality, you're like the hermit, you're like in your shell, like leave me alone, guys.
I really have a tough time. And yeah, it's like online, I definitely I'm one of those guys who, it's like, the most interesting thing about me is that I make comic books. And so when you're online, that's great. But I feel like when you're in person, it's less cool somehow. I don't know.
Well, I get like my boys will see me and be like, hey, Cody, what have you been up to? Be like, oh, well, doing interviews like I have been the last 6 months. Not much else. Like,
yeah.
Hey, that's really all I do, and play video games. Like, oh, you're building a house. Okay. Like,
awesome.
I don't know how to compete with that.
I sat in a dark room and made comics for a while. That was just as cool. No vacation photos. Yeah, no, that's great. No,
like as I'm eating my cheeseburger at 3 a.m. in the morning, editing audio.
Yeah, that's the life, though. You know.
We are. Let's get back on tangent real quick.
Yeah, sorry.
So we're here talking about the pre-order.
It's an order now. They're orders now. Oh, yesterday was the official release day, so you can order that. You can order that book, and it will show up in your mailbox.
And right there is the link in chat. So how much are we looking at for the price tag? How many pages? Like, what are we looking at getting?
I am going to double check this because I'm fairly certain that it is $20 for the book. But I just want to make sure, and I believe it's $5 shipping, so it'll be 25 total for you. It's 115 pages. 71 of that is comics, so you got the first 5 chapters of the comic. You've also got the bonus story, which is Demon of the Pit, which comes right after chapter 5 on Global Comics. So if you've been reading it there, you get that. And then there is like 30-40 pages of bonus content. So there's Pinup Gallery, which has got like all the pinups that I've ever done. Barring like the most recent ones that I've done in the past couple of weeks, because obviously the book's been in the works for a while now, and we couldn't get the stuff that I made 2 weeks ago into the book. But so there's a great pinup gallery in there. There's a lot of concept art. There's some unused character concepts, which I don't know. Maybe look at them now. Maybe they'll show up in the book later. Who knows? And there's also an 8-page unfinished story, which is like my second attempt at making the comic. And I have been told that somebody told me once that the book was worth purchasing based on that alone, which is like, okay, that's cool if you're really into the bonus stuff. But if you're really more into the story, there's still, again, it's like 75% comic story. So it looks great. It feels great. One of the things I was worried about.
Show us that wraparound again. I love that cover so much. That's gorgeous.
So one of the things that I was concerned about was that work for digital only for the longest time, and I was like, I don't need to be in print. And then these guys at Castaigne Publishing approached me, and they're like, if you ever want to print a book, let us know. And I had been kind of starting to think about it because, online was starting to be a weird space. Instagram sucks now. Twitter's, God, it's always been a hell space. It was really difficult to find any kind of digital traction. So I'm like, you know what? Maybe I should put a book together, do a Kickstarter, something like that. And these guys at Castaigne kind of popped out, and they were like, if you ever want to do a book, let us know. And I said, you know what? I do. And the way the colors translated to print actually really surprised me how well they made the transition over. And the cover is like a great example of that. I think it looks just as good on the page, if not better, than it does on your screen.
Absolutely.
And I talked earlier about, I don't really think we were on air at the time, but doing Global Comics now, which again, another great community, great devs, great site. Love being there. Doesn't hurt that I've got a lot of eyes on the product on Global. I'm very global positive right now. But when I first got on Global, because they have like a lot of publisher tools too, and I'm on there as a creator, and I'm really easy to find as a creator on there, and that's great. But I asked my publisher Castaigne if they wanted to get on Global, and they're like, no, we're not really interested in doing digital. We really just want to do print. And they're based in the South. I believe they're in Georgia. And I asked them, like, I'm going to talk about you on the air, so what do you want me to say? And they gave me this little slug line, and it's like absolutely true that they are like the most independent of independent publishers you could possibly imagine. They don't want to have anything to do with Amazon. They're like super they were anti-comicsology back when comicsology mattered. Nobody gives a crap about comicsology anymore, but they don't want to have anything to do with Amazon. That's the first question some people have asked me. It's like, oh, can I get your book on Amazon? It says, no, you cannot, and you will never be able to.
Yeah. Don't ever speak that again, as a matter of fact. So,
they don't do print on demand. They're very curated, and they have, they got a small staff, and they're very passionate about the things that they put out. They have like direct relationships with the printers. So it's like me, and I talk to Evan, and he talks to the printer, and that's it. And that's the only 3 people in the process. And so
I like that a lot too.
It's been great. And it's one of my favorite things about it is it's like, that's always how I assumed a publisher should function. And it turns out that's not the case. So like finding out that there's a publisher that does that is just like, yeah, I'm totally on board. And I have retained all my IP rights. This was right around the time that all that crap with Action Lab was blowing up.
Yeah.
And like people were struggling to get their rights back.
Actually, had someone from Action Lab. They were talking about how they had to, like, all the hoops they had to jump through to get their character back.
Yeah, I bet. Doug Wood, was it Doug Wood?
Yeah, I had Doug Wood, and there was someone else. I forgot who else. I couldn't believe how like small of a world it was. Real quick, we have Ichthus over on YouTube. Stop in and say what is up, and I love the art and coloring of this book. Yeah, dude, it is gorgeous.
Thank you.
One thing I love too, you said read this in the double format, and there was some really gorgeous like splash pages I felt like in here, and like just the layouts and stuff. Like I know you said you kind of struggled in the beginning, but I think your art and your style and your like your perspective views are just like phenomenal.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time working on that, so I'm really happy to hear you say that. And coloring was honestly like the last thing that I kind of I don't want to say mastered, because I don't consider myself to be like a master. I actually consider myself to be fairly bad at coloring, if you must know. And that's one of the things that I kind of like took a shortcut. It's like, I want to be in color. I'm in black and white. It's just not working for me because my inking is. I'm a big fan of Christine Larson and Orcs, and that book is fantastic. And I saw her tweet out once that like people are inking like they're drawing a coloring book, and you're leaving a lot on the table when you ink like that. And I'm like, oh no, that's kind of my problem.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah. No, I don't even think she knows who I am. That's fine. But like I'm looking at them. Oh, that's kind of what I do. And so coloring is like it's a big part of my process, because it's what gives depth and life to my work. And so when I started being like, okay, I got to figure out how to color, I was like, okay, I'm going to pick 3 colors, and I'm only going to use 3 colors. and I'll blend them here and there when I can. I started getting a little, and that's kind of where the point I'm at now, where I'm getting more adventurous in the way that I kind of mix my own colors and blend them, which is kind of weird to think about a digital artist not just using an eyedropper. But I mix colors on a separate palette on my digital space. And, that's really given me kind of a much better understanding of, contrasting colors and
you're almost like
colors.
literally painting it at that point, right?
Oh yeah. Yep. And I have, I'm a 3,000 layers kind of guy. I work at Clip Studio, and I think my average document, that might be a slight exaggeration, but I think my average document probably has like between 100 and 150 layers, because I do layer my colors like that, and each color kind of has its own layer because I make a lot of mistakes and I need to go back and fix stuff, and I don't want to do the whole damn thing over again. But it's just been like, I tried to simplify it as much as possible, and then keep working on it until it looks good. And I think that is another part that sometimes people kind of miss the disconnect, is they do not necessarily keep working on it until it looks good. They do it once and they think it took a long time, and maybe it's not perfect, but it's probably better than I think it is. And it's like, that's a trap. I mean, because obviously you're always going to be your own harshest critic, and you should be. But like, keep working on it until it's what you want it to be. When I first started drawing, that was the thing I said to myself, is like, you got to keep doing it until it looks like a thing. You can't show a picture to somebody and explain to them what it's supposed to be. I know comics is a split medium, where you have text and art, but you can't have a caption box that tells your reader what your drawing is supposed to be. They have to work together to make something elevated. So it's like, sometimes you will look at something you have made, something you have spent hours on, and you will go, you know what? It's just not cutting it.
Trash.
And if you're like me, and you're not the most skilled guy in the world, and you don't have kind of the vocabulary to look at it, sometimes you can't describe exactly what it is that's wrong with it. You just know something's off. And I've started again a lot of times. And I don't want to tell people to be like, all your work is garbage, throw it out and start over, because that is equally as destructive.
Yeah.
And this is where I lead myself into the trap of being like, I don't want to be the guy that gives advice, because I don't feel like my advice is particularly good. It's a lot of trial and error. And that's kind of how I've managed to do what I've done. There's easier ways to reach my level, and I still have a long way to go, in my own opinion. And I'm really excited to see like what I'm going to be doing 10 years from now.
Oh God, yeah.
But I feel I'm good enough now to make a book that's going to sit on my shelf for the rest of my life. So that's kind of like how I feel about my own skill level. Is like, I feel like when I look back at this when I'm 80 years old, I'm not going to be embarrassed that I did this.
I mean, you did, right? you can look back right now and look on yourself right now, and you have that book right there.
Yeah, and it's still very, it's very close to. I'm still very close to it. And, I need a couple of years of distance to really give it the real emotionless detachment.
You can hold it up again if you want to. I seen you reaching for it. I love it, man. It looks gorgeous.
I was in a lot of bands in high school, and we made a lot of records that sucked, and we thought they were cool at the time. And looking back on them now, it's like, this is pretty cringy.
What did you do? Were you, let me guess, vocalist?
I was, yes. I also played the keyboards and the guitar.
I can tell that you got a good voice.
And thank you. Yeah. I was a professional musician for many years.
Professional?
I got paid to do it. That means I was professional.
Let's go. No, it is. That is awesome. What type of music?
I was the vocalist at a church.
hey, music's music though, man.
Music is music. Yeah,
I love how he's building it up. He's like, we did many records. I was a professional. It was for God.
Yeah. No, that was actually completely separate. That was my kind of like my summer job in college. I played the organ and I sang at a church, and the biggest thing I ever did with like a rock and roll band, man, was I played Toad's Place, in which I don't know. Everybody in Connecticut knows what Toad's Place is. If you're not from Connecticut, you probably don't.
No idea. I'm from Ohio, and I'm like, what?
Yeah. Okay. So Toad's Place is a very famous local club, and they've had a lot of big acts come to Connecticut. Like Jimmy Eat World is going to be playing at Toad's Place.
It's like Peabody's over here in Cleveland.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. I don't know what that is, but that sounds like a similar level. Yeah. But there's like two big if you're not playing the XL Center, which is like the big conference center in Hartford, in Connecticut, you're either playing the Webster or you're playing at Toads. And Toads is like the cooler one. So like they might be Giants played Toads when they come to Connecticut. That's really cool. And so I was in a band that played at Toads. And they do local showcases, and that was the kind of thing where I had a buddy band they were headlining, and I was playing in support of that, and I actually ended up joining the headlining band later. That was the last band that I was in before I finally was just like, okay, I think I've had enough of this music stuff.
Yeah, no, I love it. There's a lot of music out there, like Under Oath is very religious, religion based heavy. They sing a lot about religion and worship and stuff.
I don't want to give off the sense that I'm a very religion-based personality because
no. I'm just saying like music of that nature doesn't necessarily mean it's all gospel. You know what I mean?
Oh no, none of the rock and roll bands I was in were religious. We
would throw that ass in a prayer circle. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But no, it was kind of thing. It was my parents' church, and that was where I worked, and that was kind of it was a gig. But that's not. My mom's gonna watch this, and she's not gonna like me saying this. But it's like that ain't me. That ain't my online personality. It sure as shit ain't my comic. So like I don't want to send off the wrong message. But
that's so awesome that you played music though. I love these interviews and these deep dives because you learn so much about the creator that you normally would have never known.
Yeah. No, I've had a lot of weird jobs in my day. I was a van driver for a while. I was actually going to talk about my first job, which was working at Blimpie, which I don't know if anybody knows about Blimpie anymore, but it was like a B-tier Subway.
Okay. I used to be the RGM of a Subway for 4 years.
Nice. Yeah. All Blimpies are Subways now, pretty much. Because that business is not really around anymore. But there was like the guy who owned the franchise, and I saw him out in like a non-work settings a couple of times, and he wore Blimpie shirts everywhere. That was his wardrobe. He only wore Blimpie apparel.
I bet there was a contract or something, Maybe.
I don't know. I think he was just really enthusiastic about it.
Just fucking really loves Blimpies.
The level of enthusiasm you got to have. You own that business. You get out there. You wear the shirt. You never shut the hell up about those sandwiches.
Brendan from that day forward, he's like, if I ever make a comic, go on Blimpie.
Exactly. I thought it was stupid. And it's one of the things. It's you think it's stupid. You think it's kind of embarrassing at the time. And it's like you want people to know who you are and what you do.
No, I got my job.
That's the price you pay.
I got job for Cody shirts. Like all my job for Cody shirts are right there. So there, and I got little business cards and everything. No, I don't know. It might be cringe, but is it cringe like pushing your brand and pushing, because the only person that's going to do that is you, right? Like the only person expected to push what you do is you. No one out there is expected to do that.
Absolutely. You as you indie comics person, I see you out there. It's like you're the machine. You got to do everything. It sucks. It does. I hate marketing. I really do. And you got to do it. If I would love to sit in a dark room and make comics and never have to like go out and talk about them on the internet, in person, whatever, just kind of hide away, and everybody's going to be big fans the minute I hit post. But like that ain't how it works. There's room for everybody in the space. There really is. But that means you got to get into space and make your room and let people know that you're there and be annoying and never shut up and talk about it all the time. I'll be there supporting you. I will hit like. I will hit retweet on your tweets. I understand the struggle. I know what it's like. You will never annoy me.
No, that's kind of like the same thing with what I do. I went about a year and a half just doing podcasts covering like 3 DC books and 3 pieces of news a week. I started doing Marvel, barely getting anybody, and then I did my first interview in November. Didn't book another interview. I didn't book another interview until February. And then I had one tweet take off. And literally that one tweet, like I've been doing interviews ever since February, consistently. And it was one of those things like where it was like a month and a half before I had someone booked. Now I'm booked 2 months in advance. Like people can't get on the show.
That's great. That's awesome.
I feel horrible. I wish I get, because I want to get everybody on. I love talking comics. I love talking shop, and it just sucks because
The other thing, again, another thing that is like, how did I get on the show? I asked you. You put the call out and you're like, sign up for this. And I was like, I want to be on the show. It sounds great. I'll do it. I had somebody the other day who's just like, all my friends are getting on podcasts and nobody wants me to be on a podcast. And I'm like, look,
Who's your friend? Get him on.
Yeah, you get them. I think you may actually already have them booked. I'm not going to name names because I don't want to disparage anybody. But it's like you like ask. That's really and I understand being like afraid to do that and being
I think we were on that same Twitter thread where we were talking about people reaching out, and I think you were like, yeah, normally I reached out and then I responded because I feel like at being a podcaster, for me to reach out to you, like you're already a booked person, you're already working on your comic. I feel like that's almost like annoying of me to do, like, hey, do you want to come on my show? When I know it's probably not, but it's just the way, you know what I mean?
Same token, podcasters hit me up, but it's like, yeah, you gotta be you're your own PR person. You gotta go out there and you gotta book your own interviews, and it sucks. Again, it's like, yeah, we're making comics. Somebody I said this once, and I don't remember who it was. Unfortunately, I should write down all my quotables and like who said it. But like, comics is performance art for introverts, and it's like, we make them because we want to create something that connects with people, reach out to the world. But we don't want to reach out to the world in a way where the world can reach back and be like, I see you. So it makes it tough to put yourself out there like that, but like do it. And, I'll watch, I'll clap, I'll be there. Retweet, let me know, tell me, you're going to have to tell me too. Sorry. But, it's just a long, long road. And I say that knowing that I'm like still probably in the first third of that road. I have a published work now from a publisher, and that feels great. This is my greatest achievement as a comic artist. But it's like, we're not done yet. This is just the beginning. Now that the book's done, now we got to sell the book. And guess who's got to do work on that? It's me.
Guess who's back?
And you got, and it's like same time. And somebody else, when I was talking about like how great it felt to like make a book, they're like, nah, now you got to start working on the next one. I'm like, oh, I know it. It's already started. Wednesdays on Global Comics. Maru, Kiru, Destroy the Moon, Chapter 6. We never stopped. We still going. I'm going to try to keep a weekly update as long as I can. And, again, don't feel pressured to like make a weekly update. Global's really good about being like, work at your own pace. Some of the most popular comics on the system are not weekly updates. And it's like, so work at your own pace. I'm doing this because I finished my Chapter 6, and then I'm going to do a weekly drip of it so I can keep talking about it. Because I know how these things work, and I know that I need to, again,
that's smart.
Shut up.
Yeah.
So when I get to the end of that, I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do, but maybe I'll have another chapter ready to go. Maybe I'll post bonus art again. People actually responded really well to that. That was a stall for time maneuver that people responded really well to. So it's like, cool, I can do that. But yeah, just keep yourself in the conversation. I guess that's what I'm trying to do, is keep myself in the conversation. That's why I'm here talking to you right now.
Yeah.
Aside from the point that I'm having a really great time, but
dude, this has been such an awesome conversation. So real quick, we are going to post that link to pre-ordering right here to order. So what's the importance of ordering? Is this the only spot where people can buy this book?
This is the only place you can buy this book right now. So it was a limited run printed 150 copies. 25 of those copies are coming to me. So they haven't arrived yet. But when they do, you will be able to buy a copy from me that may come with some fun extras. Who knows? Wait with bated breath. That I'm going to be donating 5 of them to local libraries in the area because
awesome.
I just want to do that and think it would be cool. So there will be 20 copies available to purchase directly from me. But right now, the only place to get it is on the link that you just posted in the chat. There's 125 copies available. About half of them are gone. Probably more since yesterday.
Wow, so, that's some good sales, dude.
Yeah, it's better than I was expecting, actually. We sold a lot in pre-orders, which is really cool. I've got some people that have been with me from the very beginning that bought multiple copies, and it's like, we might run out. I don't know. But again, shouting out to my Metroid peeps. A lot of my friends in the Metroid community bought a lot of books, and I really appreciate that.
Are you gonna do any throwbacks to Metroid in the future?
Oh yeah, I still do Metroid stuff all the time. We did Metroid this year, which was a daily Metroid art challenge. And I managed to do every single day. I didn't think I was going to make it, but I did it. I did one kind of a couple of weeks ago where I was just like, haven't done one of these in a while. So here we go. But yeah, no, I'm never going to stop doing Metroid because Metroid's just really awesome. And it's fun to do art for it. And I like occasionally hitting a viral art tweet and being like, yeah, I'm thinking like in the 2.5K range, as opposed to some people I know that do Garfield art that get like hundreds of thousands of likes. Looking at you, Sam. Sam.
Yeah, I was gonna say you must have seen my retweet from like 3 a.m. last night.
Sam, who did recently got Lumberjackula published. Check that out. It's really awesome. But like his Hieronymus Garf picture, which is just it's just bizarre and bonkers and out there and everything you want in a piece of Garfield art. And it's like the most looked at piece of art of anybody that I know ever. And I'm just here grinding my teeth, being like, "You." But,
I need less barbarian and more Garfield.
Yeah, but no, I never gonna stop doing barbarian stuff. So it's like, I'm just gonna stay in my lane and do my thing, and good on you for tapping into that. But I forget what I was talking about.
That happens here. We get so lost and absorbed in the conversation.
Got sidetracked by the Garf. But no, we're talking about buying the book. This is supposed to be like the reason I'm here is to push book sales. Buy the book. But yeah, so you order it from them. It comes straight from Castaigne. I'm pretty sure they pack them all themselves on site. Like I said, it's a true independent operation. And speaking of things that are like people who are also musicians, the fine folks at Castaigne Publishing, I believe they're all black metal musicians as well, which is pretty cool. I see like their photos from their concerts all the time, and they're like really hardcore.
That's awesome. So that is awesome.
It's pretty great. But yeah, you go to the link, order it from them. It's $20, and then I believe $5 shipping, and it'll arrive to you in the mail, much like my proof copy did. And enjoy. It's a great read, if I do say so myself, and I must. Again, I am super passionate about my own comic. I self-admittedly am probably my own biggest fan, and that's why I'm still making it, and that's why I will continue to make it for the next many, many years until I finish the story, and then, I don't know, maybe there'll be a prequel, who knows? Or sequel. I'm not saying that everybody's going to die and the world's going to blow up, could be a sequel.
So she does destroy the world. Come on.
It could happen. I don't know. You're just going to have to keep reading. Something's going to blow up. I don't know what it is.
I would say I give this I was trying to think of a catchy name. I can't think of anything right now, but I will give this my badge of geek too. I thought it was a fantastic read. Nice. I need to come up with something catchy, but I thought it was an awesome read. I thought it had...
When you do come up with something catchy, you got to retroactively apply it to the
I will. It's going to be like a voiceover. It'll be like,
yeah.
But yeah, no, I thought the energy was good. I thought the sequence, like how you did everything, like just the energy, the movement, the momentum was just phenomenal. I loved how we like in the first chapter, you've seen the rise and the fall of the protagonist, and and then the chapters afterwards is like her story leading back up, and like I love that. I love it. It was awesome.
Yeah, start the book by literally climbing a mountain and going to destroy the moon. And
literally and metaphorically.
And she succeeds in that, and the book is over, and it's great. No, that's not what happens. But the energy is huge, and I'm a huge fan of a movie called Red Line. I don't know if you've seen it, but I would highly recommend it if you haven't. And Red Line is a movie that's animated by hand, and it's about racing. And it's kind of like, I guess the elevator pitch would be, what if the pod race from Phantom Menace was an anime, and that was just the whole movie?
That sounds amazing, though.
It is. It's awesome. And it's just the most energetic piece of animation I think I've ever seen. And I love it. And I watch it like every year, sometimes twice. And that was a huge inspiration on my work here. It's just like every scene, high energy, everything, high impact. And like I'm a big fan of JoJo, and I really love Hirohiko Araki, and I read his book about like making manga. And one of the things that he says in about making manga and like getting your name out and like getting people to remember who you are, what you do, is like the book is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and every book has the cover is like, there's the main character, and you
Mhm.
know who it is, and you know what they're doing. And it's like, okay, yeah, we can do that here. And that was like the very first page of my comic. I have props now. I can show instead of tell. And it's like the first page of my comic is I'm Maru Kiru, and I'm gonna destroy the moon. Full page
I actually have
spread
that image
of the character.
on a slideshow. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like it's Maru Kiru, destroy the moon. There she is. Here's her name. There's what she's doing. And it's like that is just like my formula is like being really clear and concise and high energy. And it's like boom, boom, boom. This is what we're doing. That's the writing angle of it. And then on the art is just where I get to go nuts. And that's my favorite thing is just kind of like making all the art and spending all my time doing that. And I've actually had a lot of positive response to the story and people who are really enjoying the story, which I think is fantastic and is going to keep me making it. And it's going to keep this from just becoming a t-shirt company. It's going to make sure that it stays a comic and instead of becoming like, just put stickers on your laptop kind of thing, which you can purchase stickers to put on your laptop if you want to. Follow me on Twitter. I never stop talking about it.
That's so awesome. I love it. I love it. So what's next for you? I mean, now that we have you can order this book, you're working on chapter 6. Are you going to be working on chapter 7 or is there any other projects? I know you were talking to other people about collaborations. Like what are we going to see from you in the next couple of months?
It depends on, there's some things that I'm kind of talking about with some people. It kind of depends on where that goes. I'm going to be doing some more work for Castaigne. Obviously, Bay State Massacre is coming out. That's volume 1 of 3, so there's going to be 2 more of those that I'll be working on. And you'll be able to buy them from the same website that you buy Maru Kiru Destroy the Moon. If you're interested, check out their other stuff. They do a lot of like really creepy, intense horror anthologies, both comics and prose. So if you're into like really raw and like balls to the wall horror, that's a good place to go for that. Graphic fantasy and nightmare is what they tout themselves on. So again, check that out.
I like that though. That sounds like right up my alleyway.
And I was just talking to Evan the other day, and he said to me, like, we got another project that we're going to want you to work on soon. So keep your ears open. So I'm keeping my ears open there. I'm working on another variant for Once Upon a Time in Xanatopia. So that comic is really cool. And I have a variant cover for number 4, and I'm actually going to be doing a variant cover for the crowdfund for chapter 2. So I'm really excited about doing that. And
so let me ask you. Let me ask you. Once Upon a Time in Xanatopia. We don't need to spoil it, but
yeah,
issue 2. Did it piss you? Oh my God! I was like, what are you doing, DC?
Yes, it did.
I tell him that all the time.
Yep. And I get to express my frustration a little bit on the. I put some cheeky foreshadowing on my cover for issue 2. That I hope that is not too obvious. But
I love it.
That did piss me off.
That was some good writing though. That's how you know it was good when it invokes emotion like that. It's like
read that comic if you want to hate the writer. I tell you, it's it'll really get you going. But so that I'm designing a deck of cards for somebody right now.
Oh, that's cool.
A cool project, and if that goes well, maybe I'll be able to make that available for other people to buy. But I have a couple of writers that I've talked to about like, hey, we want to work with you on some kind of anthology stuff, which is great. My door is always open. I'm always available for people who want to come and pay page rate. So, I'm here.
My wallet's open.
But in terms of like creator-owned stuff, what I'm going to be doing, it's all Maru Kiru. It's like that's my focus. That's what I want to do. Chapter 7 is going to be Chapter 6 is going to be on Global Comics. I'm done with Chapter 6 now. So I'm actually going to start working on Chapter 7. I have a script for Chapter 7. I just actually have a script for Chapter 8 as well. But I need to just kind of start working on the actual pages. So that's next for me on my creator-owned stuff. But I'm always available for hire. Variant covers, regular covers, interiors. I did lettering on a comic this year for the first time ever. So you need that. Coloring is like, you hire me to do your colors, I'll do your colors. Keep in mind that my colors typically go with my inks, so that's like the place that I'm most comfortable working. And I actually did a coloring test for Sinnerman, who did 20th Century Men. I don't know if that's the comic that everybody's talking about recently. He put out this ink that he did, and he's like, anybody wants to color this? I'm looking for like maybe making a relationship with a colorist. And I'm like, yeah, I'll take a crack at it. And I did the color on it, and I sent it to him, and he looked at it, and he's like, hey, look, I think you're doing, I looked at some of your other work, and I think it's really great. I think you're doing a lot of good work in the space, and like, keep doing that. On my inks, not so much. I'm like, oh, yeah, he's kind of right.
Yeah,
So,
at least he let you down, and he put like a pillow down for you to land on,
Yeah, and it's one of those situations where it's like I would have really enjoyed working with him. So it's like it's kind of too bad that we were in a style match. But like, so yeah, you want me to be a color? You want me to do color for you? Absolutely. But maybe let's do something similar first. Let's do a little test. And make sure it's a good match, because I do have kind of a really strong and unique coloring style that might not work well on somebody else's inks. I should really do a better job of selling myself. I'm essentially saying, don't hire me. But if you want
like the honesty. I like the transparency. We have Baron actually over on YouTube saying, "I'm so sorry" in all caps. You better be. You better be.
Yeah.
J. Michael Miller as well saying, like the art. Yeah, the art. That you've been getting nothing but compliments on the art and the coloring. So you're killing it, man.
That's what I want to get compliments on, honestly. I had one person tell me, like, I think the story is awesome. I was like, that's cool. I'm glad. I'll keep doing it. But for the most part, it's like colors, art, and I'm like, yeah, that's the stuff that I want to be really good at. And it's like on the dream future Brendan in 10 years is doing comic art full time, and it's not necessarily writing all of his own scripts. So it's like, you're a writer and you've got a paycheck for an artist. Maybe think of me. Yeah, I'm here. I'll draw your book.
That's how you spell his name. That's how you spell it down there.
Right there. Yeah. Oh,
right
here, shit, there it is. There you go. Yeah.
This is my name too. If you want to throw it on.
Yeah. Why not? But like, yeah, it's like, I'll draw your book, sure, and I'll do all the parts: pencils, inks, colors. I'll letter it too. Whatever.
I love it. So I think right now is a perfect time for us to begin wrapping things up. But before we go, Brendan, I got to ask you a question, because I always, as much as this podcast is a podcast for you to sell your book and yourself, it's also a nice platform for indie creators out there who are just starting out, or maybe they're still like, they're doing their thing, but they're maybe struggling. So as someone who, kind of went through the works in the beginning to kind of get this book created, you kind of just brute yourself through it. What type of advice would you give someone who's trying to take on the same amount of workload? Like, what would you help them, or what would you say to them to kind of help work through that and be successful, at least in their own way?
When we were talking about this earlier, I said that I used to, I'm 33 years old this year. I keep talking about how old I feel, but I'm just put that out there. I'm going gray.
33 in August. Ouch.
Yeah, I know.
Are we that old?
I feel like your 30s is the age where you really start to feel like, oh man, God, I'm so old now. But I've got a lot of grays now. You can't quite see them on camera, maybe, but and I came up in like early 2000s webcomics, so I read all the big ones, all the hits, even some of the not hits. And Scott Kurtz is a name that I still know, and some people who are my age or a little bit older will know Scott Kurtz. And Scott Kurtz said something when I was really first starting to do comics that made me go like, uh-oh. And that was, he's like, people making comics, people ask like him all the time, like, how do I make it in webcomics? And he's like, people in comics just seem to assume that they're going to sit in their room and they're going to make their comic. And then one day the TARDIS is going to show up. Stan Lee's going to get out and say, come on, kid, we're going to the big time. And that's just not true. And it is. It's like, it's not true. And it's a lot of hard work. And every person I know who's had any kind of success in the space loves making comics more than anything in the world. And it's like, that is the level of commitment that you need. And I don't want to discourage anybody from making art because I think it's really important. And I seriously do believe that anybody can do it. And if you apply yourself and if you work hard and you work at your craft, you can make something that's really awesome. And it's just that, like, monetary success is something that takes a super, super, super long time. I have not found it. I don't know what the path to that is. I know how to make a good comic book now, and something that I'm really happy and really proud of, and that other people seem to like, and that people will draw fan art of, and I'm just like so flattered and so amazed by that. But it's like the tip seems to be, it's like you gotta do the work, and you gotta find a way to make it not kill you at the same time, because burnout is so huge. And it claims, it'll claim your health. Like I said, I used to be in the 5 a.m. club. I do not recommend that to anybody. Don't do that to yourself. you have to take care of yourself. You have to take care of yourself first, because if you don't take care of your health, you will not be around to make comics. So like, find a balance. If you love it, you will find a way. And you just keep at it, keep making it, keep talking about it. Talk about it to me. I'm on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @HellToBreakfast. Hit me up and be like, Brendan, read my comic. And chances are there's like a 95% chance that I will read your comic. I may not like it, but if I don't like it, I will never put you on blast. You know, and I don't want people to think that if I'm not singing the praises of your comic, that means I hate it. But I strongly believe that like there's room for everybody in this space, and that we can all get there together. And I will say nice things about your comic, and I will not say not nice things about your comic. I will not go out there and be like, this sucks, don't read this. Unless it's like really hardcore offensive and you're like doing hate speech. Okay, there's an exception where I might be like, do not read this comic, this is bad. But like, yeah, you know, if you're a genuine person with a genuine passion, and you talk to me, like, yeah, I will absolutely read your comic. Come talk to me and I'll read your comic, and I'll boost you as best I can. I don't have a huge platform, but I'm working hard to get it bigger every day. And you know, like, my goal when I first started on Global Comics and they started like talking about, you know, this was before they announced like Valiant or anything like that. And they were like, well, you know, we're creator focused, but there's big names coming, and look out for announcements about big names. And I responded to that, and I'm like, this is my new like shonen style life goal. And I think I put a gif of Ash Ketchum turning his hat around, like, I'm going to be the biggest name on Global Comics. So that's still my goal now. Is like, I'm going to be the biggest fish in this pond. I'm coming for all of you. And I say that in kind of like the most playful way possible.
But you got to have that energy, right? Because it motivates you to go harder.
Yeah. And you know, I have a playful rivalry. I have a playful rivalry with Art Crumbs, who does Godsbane, which is an amazing comic and always kicks my ass in the popularity ratings. But I'm still like, I'm coming for you. And so if they're watching, I hope that they get a kick out of that. But,
yeah, we had Art Crumbs on probably about 10 interviews ago, maybe 10, 15.
They're really great. You want to talk about
Godsbane.
You want to talk about somebody who goes hard. They go hard. So
absolutely.
But like, yeah, it's a great community, and I love talking to people about comics. I will never run dry with enthusiasm to talk about your comic, my comic, whatever. Mostly indie stuff, I should say. I actually don't read a lot of like Big Two or even like major publisher stuff anymore. It's pretty much all indie creator-owned stuff that I'm interested in.
I'm in like the same boat. Like, I used to be a podcast. We were talking about this. It used to be a podcast that would cover like 3 DC books a week and 3 Marvel, and I don't have time anymore. Like, you know, because I do an interview every day, and then I read their material the day, like an hour before the interview, so it's as fresh as possible in my head. And you know, by the time I'm done, I just don't have the time or energy. Like, you know, I'm all read out.
And it's all superhero stuff too, which is like, if that's your genre, that's cool and no hate, but like, that's just not kind of what I'm into, as you can tell. But like, I really love fantasy sci-fi stuff, and I feel like that's a genre that deserves so much love, and gets so much love in the independent scene. And a weird subgenre that I love reading about, and I think is just like, there's so much potential for like cross-pollination and just like really exciting subject matter, is comics about wrestling. I don't know. They're great. They're always great.
So you would love the Heel Screw Job. They are from Cleveland, Ohio. I have a couple of their comics and a poster on my wall. It's let me get this for you. It's wrestling based. Hold on.
Nice.
Yeah, that's the beauty of this. I do so many shows that I like when people talk about things they love. Like, so their whole thing is wrestling, and it's like old school wrestling, and it's like, it's very like, I don't know how you would explain, like the Chad type of wrestling where you're like, yeah, let's go, like,
oh yeah, like Hogan era kind of stuff.
Yes. I love it, dude. I eat it up so much. The Mega
Powers.
Yeah. The dude's thing is Chuck. Yeah, it's like Chuck. Yeah. No, I love that so much.
there's others that I've seen. I actually see a bunch out there, and I wish I could remember more titles. But like Global Wrestling Alliance is one that I remember. There's one called The Motherfucking Fucker that I think just looks. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but it just looks absolutely. It's supposed to be a wrestling romance book. It just looks hilarious. So yeah, that's like a great fun genre. It's like anybody's just out there like trying to be different and be cool. It's like, yeah, I want to read your book. I'm not huge on romance, but I'll read your romance book too.
Yeah.
You know, whatever.
Hit him with the Stone Cold Stun at least, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, so like, I don't know. I'm kind of forgotten what we were talking about. I know we're trying to wrap it up, but
no, we were just talking about kind of just some advice on working through stuff.
Advice. Yeah, and yeah, just do the work, love the work, don't kill yourself.
And, I think that is essential, because your passion is ultimately what carries you when you don't have the energy to be consistent. When you don't want to wake up and be like, I gotta go do this. Like that passion is what carries you through those moments. Yeah. And I do really think it's essential to have that built up. Brendan, thank you so much for coming on here. Breaking everything down. This has been such an awesome conversation. I need to get you back on. We should do a deep dive of chapter 1 sometime.
Please, yeah, let's. I would love to do that. Yeah.
Everyone watching, here is the order. I keep saying pre-order. Here's the order link for this book. Be sure to check it out. Be sure to order it. If you're not able to order it though, share that link on Twitter, share it on Facebook. Word of mouth is absolutely free. And you might have a friend or family member out there who would love this book. Brendan, once again, thank you coming on here, breaking it down, giving us so much awesome wisdom, advice. I appreciate it so much. I had an awesome time. Everyone that's watching, I hope you have an awesome Saturday, but most importantly, keep it geekly. All right, give me 1 second. Let me go ahead and